If you have ever wanted to work with animals, I'm sure you've thought about maybe being a veterinarian or working in a zoo or being a conservation biologist. And all of these are great options. And today I'm going to be explaining to you the pros and cons of being a wildlife rehabilitator. I'm first going to start off by explaining my journey with wildlife rehabilitation. It is technically easy to get into, but you definitely have to put your time in order to get any kind of gain. I loved animals since forever. I thought about being a vet, but I don't think I could handle the emotional aspect of it. So I decided to look into wildlife rehab. And my experience was I first started out 4 summers ago, volunteering, and I was just an animal care volunteer. I was there for 4 hours a day. I even actually drove an hour and a half to get there both ways because I loved it so much. But I would feed songbirds, I would feed squirrels, I would do laundry, I'd bottle feed raccoons. Every day was different. We all got assigned to these different wards, and I loved it so much because you just got to feed baby animals all day. The next summer I applied for a paid job there. I didn't get it, so I decided to do the practicum program, which is kind of the next step up for volunteering. So the practicum program there, I did a wildlife rehabilitation practicum, and it was 2 months, and I did it in May and June, which was hectic baby season. We had so many babies come in. It was very intensive, so I'll explain hours and stuff in a bit, but really intensive. It was 4 days a week. I was pretty much working full time, I just wasn't getting paid. And we kind of did the lower level of kind of what the staff was doing. I loved it so much that the next summer, so the third summer, this is actually last summer, I decided to apply for the job, and I got it. So if you have prior experience, you might be able to get a job at a rehabilitation center without doing any volunteer work there first. But the practicum really helped me get that job, and so I was a junior wildlife rehabilitator, which was a level lower than the full-on wildlife rehabilitators. And that was fine with me because I didn't have to do euthanasia. I kind of did the less problem species. It was lots of fun, and the main part of my job, being a junior wildlife rehabilitator, was we were put on baby raccoons a lot. And I pretty much spent many hours of my day feeding the 60 raccoons that we had. So after my summer being a junior wildlife rehabilitator, I left to go back to school, and I just finished my last year of school this year. So I have been still working rehab, and this summer I'll continue, but I pretty much rehab raptors, so birds of prey, and it's more specialized, and I also do some other duties at the place where I work as well. So the experience from the other facility gave me immense skills and knowledge, because you're not only learning about animal husbandry of many different species, you're also learning the medical skills. So it was really intensive, but I loved it a lot, and now I can carry those skills into other jobs that I have. So now I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of being in wildlife rehabilitation. So number one, the long hours. So I know many jobs have long hours, and the typical shifts for us was 10.5 hours a day. And we worked 4 days a week, so it worked out to be 40 hours. 7 in the morning, or you could go till 11 at night. A lot of the time we would do overtime, and we wouldn't get paid overtime, which is just how the union thing worked out. So you're on your feet all day, you're doing really physical work. We did get an hour break, and then we had 2 15 minutes technically, but none of us really took the 15 minutes because we were so busy with what we're doing. Number two, there's no pet owners, so there's no emotional ties with these animals. We don't name the animals. If an animal has to be euthanized, you don't have to call the owners and tell them this really depressing news. Now we're moving on to number three, which kind of goes with number two, but the uneducated public. So we've had many cases where people have brought baby deer fawns in and left them on their bed and took pictures of them in their comforter, and we were oh my gosh, what are you doing? We've had many frustrating cases where people are try to raise these animals by themselves, and then they're oh, I'm not doing it properly, and then we get them, and then they're in really bad condition. So we've had that a lot, and it's really depressing, and it really just comes down to education and letting these people know I know we know your heart's in an amazing place and you want to do this by yourself, but it just comes down to proper care. And if you want the animal to survive, we have the best care. We have so much expertise in how to keep these animals healthy and alive. So please just bring them to us, and we will take care of them. And you can even be part of the releases, because some people want to release them if you find them, which you can definitely do. So uneducated public is really frustrating, and something that we do have to deal with outside of of our coworker realm. So this leads to number 4, coworkers. You work in very close proximity with coworkers because you don't, the most of the time in rehab centers, you don't really work with public. If you're a wildlife rehabber, you are really close with your coworkers. The public usually isn't allowed to like just come sauntering in generally, and we all get really close. And yeah, I love them. We all have the same passion for what we're doing, and it was a really awesome environment to be in. Number 5, this is an obvious one, but euthanasia is still part of working with any animals in any care way, shape, or form. And it's just an unfortunate reality. You know, we had like 40% of the animals that we came in had to be euthanized before we even cared for them. And that's just an unfortunate truth. A lot of them are too far gone. And I was in the position where I didn't have to euthanize them myself. So it was like the next level up that would make that decision. And so I was kind of fortunate, but yeah, the people above me would have to euthanize and make that decision. And if it was a really hard decision, we would talk with each other and make it together. So it's still unfortunate, but again, we don't have these like emotional ties like with these animals. So it is a little bit easier, but it's still a hard part of the job. Number 6, you get to be hands-on with animals. This is probably one of the best parts of wildlife rehab. You get to see these animals up close and personal. You get to care for them like physically. You have many different species. Like, who gets to hold a little baby merganser in their hand? Like, they're one of my favorite species. But one thing with being up close and personal is it is dangerous. It goes with any work with the animals, but yeah, you get training, it can be dangerous, you can get lots of cuts and scratches, and what can be expected when you're working with animals. Number 7, every day is different, and I appreciate this so much. It's really amazing if you can find a job where every day is different and you don't get into, I mean, there's some habits, but you don't really know what to expect. Like, for example, one day there would be like a seal pup in a kennel, and I would just hear this, me, me, and I was like, what the heck is this? And I would see this like adorable little seal pup, and like we'd transfer it to a different facility because we don't do marine mammals, but like I still got to see a baby seal pup. And by every day is different, I mean you could be setting up a songbird aviary, there could be a rare patient that comes in that's really exciting to see, you could be tube feeding an eagle, like it's all different. Number 8, now this is a big one and probably a reason why a lot of people don't do this job, but there's very little pay. And I don't know about other rehab centers, but from like my experience and knowledge, like I did my job, I worked hella hard, and I got paid a little bit above minimum wage, like 80 cents above minimum wage. And people who've been there in like my same position for like 3 years still made the same amount as me. And the people above me for like the full-on wildlife rehabilitator, they only made like maybe $6 or $8 more than me, and they were there for like 7 years. So I don't know if it's like this with every facility, but the way ours ran in our union, like there's no way of getting your salary up, and it's really unfortunate. And you know, it's hard to get funding. A lot of these rehab centers are like non-profit, so you know, it's fortunate that we can do this job and still get paid. But even if you're there for 7-10 years, you know, you won't make that much money, like maybe 20-22 bucks an hour. But you have so much experience and there's no way of moving up in your workplace because you're already at the top. Number 9. Now this kind of goes with number 7, but it's not boring. Your job's really exciting. You get to see new things every day. You learn a lot. Like people who've been there forever still learn new stuff all the time, and there's always new techniques on healthcare and triage, and there's so much to learn in a medical field like this. So that's a really awesome part of the job. It really works the brain sometimes, and it's never boring. Right, number 10. This is pretty much the main reason why lots of people do wildlife rehab, but seeing the patients be released after all of your hard work and energy and time, it's one of the best feelings, seeing them fly free or run up a tree and start pulling moss off of it. Like, seeing these animals go free in the wild is why we love our job. So most of the animals that we see in care are due to like a human wildlife conflict, or you know, like they got hit by a car or something. So a lot of human impacts it is the reason why we get animals in, one of the reasons, and orphaning, and there's a few others, but yeah, that's why we do our job. Overall, if you love wildlife and you want to be hands-on with animals, definitely try this out. As I said at the beginning, like my experience went from volunteering to doing a practicum to then getting a paid job. That happened over 3 years, and you just got to put your time in and work your way up. So thank you for watching this video on wildlife rehabilitation pros and cons. I hope to help shed light on if you want to be involved in wildlife rehab and what it takes. So like and subscribe if you would like, and thank you for watching.